Well, we are jumping into AI, Allie. Here we go. Is this even
Can
me
one
talking? I don't know.
can one jump into AI yet? Is that possible?
I don't know. I don't know. This might not even be us, but here we go, right? So what have you been up to? We were actually talking yesterday, so it's been 24 hours for those that are listening now.
A week for them, a day for us. Time
Right.
is an illusion. I'm reading a really good book,
Mm.
actually. Um, it's called Bottom of the Food Chain by Lepora Lindsay.
Hmm.
She's great. She actually sent me a copy to kind of help her. But you know what? The the cool part about being an adult and choosing to like learn, in all different varieties, you never know where it's going to take you.
Right.
I feel like, you know, AI can't replace the joy of reading a book.
True.
Just
Can read it for
summarize
you.
it. Yeah, make it
I'm going to be the devil's advocate all day today. I'm like, well, no. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great, I love, and thanks for sharing the books, because I've had so many people ask me different, the gift of a book is just wonderful. So that's great. We should put that in the notes, to give the author a prop there on that. Speaking of people who really, I kind of like was an adult learner in high school. I'm just going to call him out that way. We have Daniel Bevan with us today. Dan, how you doing, man?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful.
Awesome. Can you
Except
give
for
a
the weather's pretty depressing, but besides that, yeah,
yeah, yeah, while we record. Well, Allie, speaking of weather, like what is it looking like up there? Because we're just getting rain here, but she's up in the snow belt right now.
it's a little bit. I'm on like the northern edge of this giant storm, and but like I don't know, an hour south has already gotten hit with over a foot, and they're
Oh,
expected to get 1 to 2 more feet in the next 24 hours.
yeah, just
So
getting rain.
yeah,
rain's not too bad if
amazing.
you put it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. So, well, Dan, tell the listeners, if they haven't heard episode 5, or we did a recap back there, I think
Yeah.
after 20 or so. We're all the way in the mid 200s, upper 200s right now. But tell everybody a little bit about like who you are and what you do to preface this whole conversation about AI automation.
Basically, after I graduated high school in 2015, for those that don't know, Peter was my business teacher. Um, I kind of was in a limbo period where I didn't really want to go to college. I had a startup idea I was going to do. I was doing a catering business, which was my first business that I did. And I was just, to teach myself what business is, how it works, how to talk to customers, all that type of stuff. Um, so as time went on, I kind of scrapped school. I went to DePaul for a few weeks. I don't even really like consider it me going to school. Some people like say, "Oh, I'm a college dropout." Like, I wish I had that title, but I don't even feel like I deserve it, to be honest with you. So anyway, yeah, there was like a limbo period for about a year. I was trying to do a startup with my two of my best friends, and we needed a developer, and we couldn't find one that was within our budget and kind of had our vision. So I was like, you know what? I got to figure out how to do this. I went into figuring out how to learn code, and it wasn't a terrible experience, but it was like, wow, there's so much to learn. There has to be an easier way. There has to be a better way. And that's when I found no code, or, well, the platform's called Bubble.
Mhm.
And that was the introduction into my now profession of being a no code, low code professional developer. So that's really the start of it. And like after those 6 months of me trying to learn how to build my own app, sure, the startup kind of disbanded, but I learned a skill that I then monetized for the last 6 years. So it's worked out pretty well.
Tell me more about what no code, low code bubble is for someone who has no idea.
No, that's a
Yeah.
great question. So anytime you're building like an app or a website, you're doing all of this complex code, which essentially just means you're writing in a coding language. It's a lot of complicated stuff. There's a massive learning curve. And what no code does is it just simplifies everything. So think about visual programming, drag and drop. That's the start of it, right? That's the most basic version. But then you can go further and further and start talking to APIs, which essentially means communicating with other platforms, in the back end of apps, it can get really complex. But essentially what it does, it allows a non-technical like myself to become somewhat proficient in technology and building and developing and programming and all this stuff. And that's kind of taking me to automation. That's sort of the next big thing that's going on, where we're minimizing and decreasing the amount of time human beings are doing certain activities, and we're simply just building a process once and letting it run perfectly, you know? So like these are just like the things that no code has allowed. And I remember when I first started, it was like, you no code developer, that's not a real thing. That's never going to last. You're not a real developer. And, you know, just a few years later, it's like you find no code elements in literally like every single business in the tech space. So it's like, yeah, I got in at the right time. I'll say that.
There's a piece of timing. Yeah. Right. In entrepreneurship and running your own thing. Just by the way, if anybody goes to disrupteducation.co or peterhostrasser.com, this guy created it, and I know he wants to recreate it. I'm just throwing that out there because that was older. That was Webflow.
Yeah.
But watching you teach yourself this and letting that curiosity ride in your learning, it's almost the way you described it is almost, it was like I don't know, maybe we're already overusing the term AI, but like it was almost like Bubble is a part of AI that had pieces that were already put together, and even Webflow to a point. Would you call it AI? You had a post around AI and automation and the difference. Maybe we should start there and try to figure out, okay, what is the actual difference of that?
Yeah. So I think listen, I'm not going to come in here and like say I'm some AI expert. I'm definitely not. I'm just a curious learner of AI.
Sure.
But what I really care about is the practical use of it, right? So like there's a lot of fluff going around in like the AI space at the moment, where like everyone's considering everything AI, you know? It's like it's just a little bit saturated, you know, at this point. In terms of your first question, is Bubble AI?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe no, but there's elements of whether it's automation or simplifying like complex things into simple, like it's the concept of AI. The whole concept and benefit of AI is to take humans out of the equation and to take and to minimize learning curves, and like just like that's what it's all about. So when I like am using AI in my work, like just actual AI, all I'm doing is like making my life easier. That's all it really is at the end of the day. So is Bubble AI? No, but it acts the same way. It's the same sort of concept of it's just a tool that makes your life easier. And I think what's happened is every single software out there is saying, oh, we have AI, we have AI. They didn't even call it a lot of the stuff AI until like, I guess a few months ago. You know, right. The marketing was just like, oh, we do this. Oh, we do that. And now it's, oh, we have an AI thing. You didn't change anything. You're just calling it AI now. So I'm seeing that everywhere. And so to your question, it's like, you should be confused, you know, because all the marketing is saying AI because it's the new buzzword.
What is like the biggest distinction then for somebody who is like approaching AI versus, you know, just development tools? I mean, like, well, how would you differentiate that?
No, that's a great question. It's like, I literally continuously look up what is the definition of AI. And you can't get a real answer. You cannot get a real answer. I actually have a definition here that I really like, though. So it says artificial intelligence refers to systems that display intelligent behavior by analyzing their environment and taking actions with some degree of automation to achieve specific goals. So I think that's probably the closest definition, or the definition I would subscribe to. However, so then you get to the question, right? What is AI? I would argue that the YouTube search algorithm or the Google search engine algorithm is AI because it's learning from our behaviors, but it's not marketed as AI. It's never been marketed as AI. It's more AI than a lot of things that are considered AI. So it's like a lot of this stuff, I think it's going to be a massive learning curve for the majority of people, but I wouldn't get too caught up in all the buzzwords. You know, at the end of the day, it feels like there's been a big shift, but there really hasn't been that big of a shift, if that makes sense.
I appreciate that, because I think, obviously as educators, here we are, right? And the first thing we think of, especially if you're an older educator, is the Terminator, man. We're going down. Like this stuff is taking us. And it's gonna. I've been on several calls in organizations and such where it has come up, and obviously the number one piece of fear that falls out is that it's going to take our jobs. We're blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I get it. Like change equates fear in a lot of educational systems that are traditional. It is what it is. And there's nothing wrong with being fearful of change. It's just, how do you adapt to it and such? Well, let's jump in then to what is your thought process on AI automation, I would say how it's coming about and becoming more and more in the forefront of education. Like, so students are finding this and they're curious and they're diving into it. And, you included with several students, even myself, do we want to get things done and get them done quick so we could go play ball or whatever? What are your thoughts on this kind of coming to the surface in education? Because I know you were already there in your automation as a high school student. You understood how to kind of play the game, but isn't this? I'm just stop there. What do you think?
It kind of depends, right? Because the way AI is going to impact education is a lot different than the way it's going to impact a business, for example, right? So students, what they want is they just want a good grade at the most basic level. They just want a good grade. So if an AI can produce that, what are they doing? They're saving time. If a business is implementing AI, it's to not only save time, but to save money and to cut costs. So from a student perspective, if you can get away with writing a paper, a 5-page, 10-page paper, completely AI written, and you've maybe tuned the AI to sort of match your previous writing in the past, this is a big thing that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So one of the things with AI that I think people don't really understand yet, or at least the mainstream don't understand yet, is that you can fine tune it to get your desired outcome, which means if I say AI, the pizza has cheese on top, mm-hmm. I could then fine tune AI to believe that pizza does not have cheese. I can fine tune that because I have full control over what the AI then produces to me. It's all about input versus output. I can tell it certain inputs and then also provide the outputs that I expect from it. So as a student, if I have 10 papers that I've written in the past that have my sort of style of writing and my voice and all this stuff, I can then fine tune an AI to be like, hey, this is kind of how I talk. This is kind of how I think. This is kind of how I write. Now, when I then produce a prompt of, hey, AI, write a paper on George Washington, it's now going to write it as if it were me, and no teacher is going to be able to dispute it. That's the type of stuff that we're talking about here. So the sort of, banning or minimizing of AI and technology, it's a waste of time because you've already lost, you know what I mean? As a teacher, as an educator, as an education system. So your whole thing is about, okay, if writing a paper that you don't really care about can be done by AI, then there's no more use case. So I think all it's really doing is asking questions of the education system. Hey, what is actually valuable to students? Because it's clear that writing a paper about Shakespeare or Thomas Jefferson or whoever the hell, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because an AI can do that for you. Much like a calculator. I think the calculator is the best example, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, it was like, you cannot use a calculator for this test. You cannot use a calculator for this. And then as I got older, it was like, okay, this test is calculator. You can use a calculator on this test. You can use and the question is, if you can use a calculator in real life, why can't you use it on a test in a classroom? That's going to be the same question that people ask about all this AI. Why, if you have the access to the resource, which is essentially free, if you have access to the internet. Why can't you use it? Because that's what you can do in the real world. I can tell you right now, like I'm working with clients right now. I needed to answer a question for a problem I had. ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't, I don't have to go to my client and be like, guys, sorry, I use AI. I'm sorry. No, that's not how it works. I have to deliver on a product or a service. I'm going to use any and every tool that I can to deliver the best product. It's simple. So I think that's, long story short, this stuff can't be stopped, essentially. And I don't think I don't think any educator should be fighting against that. I think they should be looking into like, how do, instead of how do we stop AI, it's how do we use AI to improve the learning experience.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yes. That was definitely like my thoughts as you were talking there. It's like, it definitely seems like a pointless battle to combat like such a powerhouse tool that could really just redefine like how we think about learning and what are the outcomes and the usefulness of a ChatGPT or whatever system, that's the hot topic right now.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, Dan, on how education could be using it to like either, from any level, like it could be students, teachers, I don't know, admin, if you have any thoughts on that, community members, parents, etc. Like how could it help the system?
Well, I think it requires a massive reworking of what education is actually, or traditional education, like what the actual goal is, right? Because I think if you give, I think the most interesting thing would be to give every single student access to ChatGPT and then give them a problem to solve. And I think that's the key, right? Because then they have an actual tool that they can use. And now it's no longer about, as a student, I need to get this right. It's about, I need to use this tool to the best of my ability. That's going to be how you change education. So, I don't really look at it as, I think this is going to be like a massive disruption, a massive transition. But, how can you really get an entire school system to be like, okay, filling out a box, filling out like a Scantron is what it's called. Man, I haven't said that in a while. Filling out a Scantron is like, those days are over. Now you have to look at, how do you observe a student's problem solving skills? That's how you grade students in the future, in my opinion. And I think you do that by giving them all of the tools at their disposal and letting them be creative. The reality is, if you have 30 students in a class, there's going to be a massive difference between how effective somebody is at using AI and somebody who isn't. And I think that's where you can get to a point where you're like, okay, this person needs to work better on, how to finding solutions to their problems. That's a real life skill that you can take until, like, I have problems every day. We all have problems every day. If you're a good problem solver, those problems don't feel as heavy as if someone who maybe has to go talk to their mom on the phone. Hey, how do I do this? That's kind of how it works. So I think problem solving is going to be a lot more at the forefront in an innovative education system. That's kind of how I see it going.
And you kind of know, like, my vision of education is like bringing it local community. Let's look at community challenges. Let's give the students in those communities the problem solving, whatever the challenges are, and let's just let them go. It's kind of like reversing everything that Sir Ken Robinson had said education has done. And then you can attach math, science, English, everything to that.
Yep.
AI could do that, or, educators can say, this is a place where you see, this is where, the graphing, is happening. This is where chemistry is happening, and so on and so forth, which, I mean, in that shift, we did that, right? I'm a business educator. We kind of played around with these types of things in small business management and some of the courses that we played around with when we were at Oak Park. And I think I just wanted to give you an example in, have you kind of hash this out. We were giving a presentation. I'm going to give a shout out to Robert Peplowski for Peppo's Sandwich Shop. We were doing a presentation for them. And one of the students who was in that presentation was putting together the end of the presentation. And of course, me as the person helping the entire class through, I'm like, you got to give like a huge boom, the firework, the massive display at the end, like something that's going to hit and stick with him once you get through this whole presentation. And he did that. And the end was fantastic. And I asked him how he did it. And he said he used ChatGPT and put in a lot of the information from Pebbles, just gathering stuff online and just plugging it in. And basically, like you said, had it automate some sort. Now he changed it, because he didn't go as far as, like you said, to put in his own writing and everything like that. But he basically collected all this data, threw it in there, it shot something back. He put his own spin on it and just knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
Yeah. So that transition, how do you see that transition going? Or maybe, I don't know, from an outsider, somebody who is there's a lot of questions, but where do you see that transition happening? How do you see this whole transition happening?
Well, I mean, you just gave the example of how it's happening, right? I mean, here's the thing, right? And this is why I don't think this whole AI shift and the whole chat GPT shift is as big as people think it is, right? Because all he did was a bunch of Google searches, but instead of going to Google, he went to the AI. That's all he did, because AI is better at searching Google than human beings. That's literally what it is. So, I was actually put this on the story a couple days ago about next time you're struggling to find an answer on Google, just put it into ChatGPT instead, and it's going to give you a better answer than you could ever find. That's just how it works. So that's what the kid did. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. It's not even a big deal. Like, it's not that big of a deal at the moment, because again, it's just like having a calculator.
I really like that analogy of, big calculators. I think it gives people a physical object that most people can relate to. And that it almost, like, when you're talking about it, the phrase that came to mind was like, how do we get better answers? Oftentimes people will say, well, you ask better questions, which, yes, that is a good skill, and it's kind of like what you're talking about in terms of the inputs, but then it's not even asking better questions, it's using better tools.
Yep,
which
that's 100%.
It sounds like Chat GPT is just from what I understand. No, I will say I have yet to use it. Have I seen other people use it? Have I read all about it? Like, yes, but I haven't. Like, I have been waiting very intentionally to start using it, to hear from like people who do use it and the benefits. So it's not even like a laggard thing at this point, right? Like, there's a lot of people out there that, aren't using it for whatever reasons, but it's like an intentional not using it. So, like, can you tell me, what am I missing out on as just like an adult living my life, like professionally open to lots of different things that people should consider when using it? Or, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, listen, I heard about it, and I didn't just start using it right away either. It took me a little bit of time, and so I was in a situation where I'm like, you know what, I can't figure this out. Let's test to see how good this thing actually is. That's what my moment was for me. Here's what I would say, because at the beginning you were talking about, the inputs being asking better questions, you'll get better answers. That type of thing is perfect, right? I think if we go back to the calculator example, if you bring up like a modern day graphing calculator, the reality is me, I don't know if Alli, you're a math magician, but we only know how to use about 10% of that thing. The reality is I know very little about how to get the most out of that calculator. That's the same thing with ChatGPT. There's a lot of people who are going to get the bare minimum. So their impact on their life is going to be very small, because they're going to get maybe 1-2% out of it. There's some people who are literally going to be experts at inputting data and then receiving what they want out of it. So the question is, why should you use it? You should only use it if you feel like, one, you're not getting whatever result that you feel you should be getting, or two, you're spending way too much time on arbitrary things, like maybe thinking about a good example is like if you want to post a YouTube video. You know what? We'll even make it even simpler. If you're going to post this podcast and you're going to name this podcast, right? You could think about, man, what should this be about? What should the name be? And you're going to spend 6 minutes trying to figure out what the name should be. Or you could just type into ChatGPT. We talked to a guy named Daniel. He's a developer. Give me 10 title ideas, and it's just going to rattle them off. So again, condensing the amount of work, the amount of tedious, like it's just tedious work that we can just condense, and it's just going to give us better answers than we could think of. Now, the question becomes long-term, will that hurt our minds if we're like, not thinking about basic things? But I think it's kind of the opposite. We're now going to level up again and be like, okay, we're going to think about more important things. Like naming the title of the video, it's important, but if somebody else can do it, why would I do it? So to come full circle, just use it when you feel like, instead of going to Google, just go to ChatGPT. I say it wrong all the time, by the way. Just go there, get a couple answers. You'll be like, oh, this is neat. It's kind of like Google, but better. And then you're going to I literally right now, when I start my work, I have all my browsers, all my tabs open, and then the chat is just right there if I need it. It's exactly what I do. It's exactly what I do.
It's been it's actually like Merlin is out there, which is an extension on Chrome. There's a lot of different, like you can see it spreading out. A lot of people understand the code behind it, and then they're making it their own. I mean, I've done transcriptions. So
here's a point on that. On that. So when you guys see ChatGPT, everyone just thinks that that's the best thing in the world. But the reality is that's just a product of what is actually underneath it, which is called OpenAI. That's the actual software, the actual platform, the actual AI model that the product is based on. So when you see all these other new AI platforms coming out, a lot of them, guys, they're not recreating the wheel. They're just going to OpenAI and be like, okay, we're going to use your model and we're going to spin it to this use case. So like anytime you say like, oh, it's AI for this, it's AI for that. It's somewhere similar to how like people would say, oh, we're the Uber of this, we're the Uber of that. It's the same thing. So when you see like 25 different AI tools, a lot of times their actual foundation and their actual source of information is coming from the same place.
Yeah.
It's just marketed different and it's catered towards a specific use case.
This is great. And I feel like our listeners are going to really enjoy this too, because I have heard so much like negative about ChatGPT, and it's like really easy. I mean, I feel like probably people did the same thing with the calculator at some point. Like, oh, I have to know my tables. I don't and same thing with like phones or computers or email, right? Like, I mean, and it's refreshing that, like, I think here on Disrupt Education, sometimes like something that is disruptive at whatever level, like we don't need to think that that's like a bad thing. So I think your perspective here is really refreshing, because oftentimes I find that it's easy if you just do a basic search, which I did right before recording this on ChatGPT. Most of the article headlines were negative.
Well, there's a simple reason why that is, and that's just because negativity sells, right? So like it would be so easy for me to be like, to make a video of like me typing something in ChatGPT, I don't get the response back that I want, and then I make an article saying, "Hey, this is why ChatGPT doesn't work as well as you maybe thought," and then boom, it gets a bunch of views, and then it validates people's ideas, so they don't have to then change and adapt. That's just kind of how life is, though, right? Like, there's going to be winners and losers when big shifts happen, when big disruptive things happen. There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. There's going to be people who take advantage. There's going to be people who don't. And I think I've learned enough over my 26 years tomorrow that sometimes like you can't just it's kind of like you're trying to like push a moving train, like trying to push it, like you can't. It's inevitable, that's kind of the word I would describe. It's inevitable. So the best thing that you can do is take 17 minutes to learn how this thing works and how it can benefit you. It's not like this thing costs like $1,000 a month. It's free, and then there's a $20 version if you want.
Right.
It's like, it. The fact that people like still have like these thoughts of, man, is it really that good? Just try it. Just try it. It's not like we're spending our entire 24 hours doing something productive. Like we're not. So like, just try it.
Mhm.
Just try it.
I'm gonna try it out and see what it can teach me about skydiving.
Yeah, right.
See.
It'll teach you whatever. Here's what I think. I think that the best sort of data that you can get from like a Google search and maybe a YouTube search, you're probably going to find that in a GPT response. I think that's kind of what it's going to sum up to. And listen, sometimes you got to go deeper. Sometimes you got to. But what's so great about it, and I will say, like, sure, there's a lot of, I input this, I get this back out, but what it really is a conversation. So when I'm doing a ChatGPT sort of conversation, I'm starting with something basic, like, okay, so show me an example of this. And then it shows me an example. And I say, okay, elaborate on that. And then it elaborates on it. So like, it's a conversation. That's kind of what here's the thing. So, when people ask you questions like that, they could have just Googled themselves. It's, you know what I mean?
We're teachers. Yes, we know that.
Okay. This is actually a perfect example, right? Kid comes to you and says, "Hey, Peter, how do I do this?" And you're like, in your mind, you're like, just Google it. Why would you ask me? The Google's clearly smarter than I am. ChatGPT can be your person that you go and ask everything to. And again, you just have that conversation. It's that simple.
Your syllabus, Peter. If you don't, have you checked ChatGPT before college?
That would be a fantastic integration into the classroom.
I've had it create my syllabus, so which I've done.
The syllabus was created with AI. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I mean, lesson planning and different things like that. The check the box things that we have to do as educators, it works. So what's interesting, also though, is Dan, I think you're talking about asking the right questions, and what really is education. It's asking the right questions and learning how to ask the questions, right? It's not all about the answers. It's actually about how do you get to an answer, the flow. And what I like also, Alli, like you're talking about, like actually jumping out of the plane. You're not going to take a laptop and throw it out of the plane and say, okay, now Chat GPT, tell me what it feels like. Like, I mean, maybe somebody will do that. Who knows? One of our crazy listeners might try that. But like, I'm just saying, like, I think we're getting back to really the humanistic approach of education, where this is that tool. I'll be honest, like, I never ever learned how to use a graphing calculator. I couldn't tell you even how to turn the damn thing on. But my dad was a math teacher, and to the day he retired, he was like, get off that damn calculator. So I hope that, our teachers now, educators now, are going to start to change the way, okay, you got to be curious about chemistry. You should be curious about what do you want to know about this? Yes, we have to maybe check the box in this transition of education. What do you want to know about, math 2 or whatever? And that's my question to you, Dan. Like, so what do you think educators, how do you think, so you're a math teacher, you're a science teacher, or even a writing teacher. What is optimal at this point for an educator? And we'll just say secondary ed, just to keep it simple, because we're in secondary education here.
Well, if you're an educator, I think you guys are obviously educators. Do you guys feel a responsibility to put your students in a situation where they grow? I assume you have that. I'm assuming you feel that responsibility, right?
Yep.
How cool would it be if, I don't know, the classroom came up with what you guys are going to do today through AI? So like, just type a prompt, like a student comes up and types something into ChatGPT. We want to do this today, or we want to do this for this quarter, or whatever. And you guys build the learning experience with AI. I mean, that'd be interesting. But that's just off the top of my head. There's a million things you could do. And guess what? There are going to be AI specific category and industry specific things that are AI based. So like I was saying before, a lot of this stuff is like just white labeled openai.com. A lot of it's just white labeled, right? Because like I can build an experience with AI, but for a specific use case. So what a history teacher might do might be different than what a science teacher might do. And I think that's kind of the point of AI. One of the, I think, best movies that people should watch for AI is Iron Man. The first Iron Man, even the second or third, he has an AI with him at all times called Jarvis. And then obviously when Jarvis becomes Vision, it becomes Friday. But like the AI is with him at all times. I don't think I remember anything in that movie that Tony Stark said that was like super duper intelligent. What did he do? He just asked the right questions to the AI, and the AI gave him back the response. And then he processes that and then asks a better question. That's all it is. So I think in a lot of ways, just having the AI ready to go for like a teacher or a student, I think that's all you really need to get started. And then from there, people are going to come up with different ideas on how to integrate different tools properly within a classroom.
I like it already. Now you got me thinking, my head spinning already, Alli. But like thinking about like, okay, yeah, we're talking about math or science. Well, wait, why don't we use it for math and science and English all in one? Like, let's get crazy here. Let's start tearing down those silos with I don't know. What do you think, Alli?
I definitely agree. I think if it's going to synthesize so much more information than any one person could ever think about, or put in their brain, and it can spit it out for you, I just think the possibilities are endless, and that we should be thinking of ways it can be helpful and improve the learning experience for everybody. Because it's just not something, it's just it's a tool, and it sounds like it's a fabulous tool, one not to be feared, but to, again, even if it spits out answers, the answers are only as good as it's like you understanding them or like knowing what comes next. And so it should level up, just like you said, Dan. It should help us level up our thinking and not keep us at these like basic levels, but to be more critical evaluators of information and like knowing what comes next, or like, well, if I have this answer, then where else could I go with it? And rather than just looking at it as an endpoint, but really looking at it as a jumping off point.
That's probably the best explanation you can kind of give in terms of like what AI should be going into the classroom. It's perfect, because when we're talking about leveling up, what that also means is the education system has to level up as well. The curriculum has to level up as well. So it should no longer be about, is it A or is it B? It should be, what do you think about this? How do you process this information? What conclusions can you come to? These are different questions, and how can you evaluate that as a teacher? That's going to be damn near impossible, because a lot of it's subjective as well. So there's way too many questions, and I think that puts fear on the traditional education system as a whole, not necessarily for the individual teacher, but the curriculum and the expectation of what a school should be providing to parents. Remember, Pete, what you just said, your dad doesn't want you to use a calculator. You have to sell this idea to parents. And a lot of those parents are going to be super traditional in the way they think. And they're going to be like, is this really, it was harder in my day, those types of things, right? It's funny, as I was thinking, another way to implement AI into every single classroom is, I don't know if you guys seen like certain note takers. For example, there's ones that you can do with Zoom as well. Like if you could have like a little Zoom bot in a call with you, and it will transcribe everything that you guys have said. It'll pick up on your voices. So all three of us, it would know this person speaking at this time, this person speaking at this time. You could do that within a classroom, where it's like when the teacher talks, it transcribes, and then it automatically like breaks out everything into summaries and notes. Like, this is the most important thing that she said. This is the most important thing that he said, and then kids can take those notes home, and boom. And yeah, it might be like, okay, they're not going to listen in class as much because they get the notes anyway. But that's kind of what school is at this point anyway. So, there's so many ways to go about this, so many different directions that you can go in. But again, it's unfortunately, like, I don't know how much control you guys have as the individual teacher when it comes to implementing this stuff, because there's so much red tape. I know there's so much red tape when it comes to implementing new ideas in the school system. So it's tough.
Well, I am happy to say, like, the school district that I work at, it is a conversation. It is open. We're not New York right now, where they're going to lock it up and things. And I think that's where you're going to see the divide. they're going to put it under a safety thing somewhere along the way, which, right or wrong, I'm not going to make that decision for people, but you will see that split. It's already happening. Like there's either lockdowns or creativity or curiosity that's happening in schools. And I'm sure Alli and I will kind of dig deeper into that split. But Alli, I wanted to, throw out there, what are kind of some final thoughts that you have here?
ChatGPT, Dan said it best. Give it 17 minutes.
I love that.
What it can do for you.
17 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
That's
17 minutes.
Podcast.
Right. So, Dan, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast and sharing your knowledge. We really appreciate your, I know you're a curious learner and you're somebody who's going to dig into this, and you were the first person that I was thinking about. Yeah, we need to talk to you about this to kind of open our quick series here on ChatGPT. Is it ChatGPT, GTP? Yes, that's what it is.
You call it whatever you want.
Open AI, whatever it is. But appreciate your thought processes. And now you got me thinking about a bunch of ideas. So thanks again for hanging out with us today.
Of course. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And for Alli, I'm Peter Hostrasser. We'll catch you next time on Disrupt Education. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Disrupt Education Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Are you ready to disrupt the educational arena you're a part of? For more ways to get involved in the work we do here at Disrupt Education, check us out at disrupteducation.co or find us on LinkedIn at Peter Hostrasser or Alli Privet.
Our mission here is to help facilitate and amplify changes in the educational system through local initiatives and help you scale them into community movements. Our building network of disruptors in education are working to move beyond scores and grades as the only measure for student learning. If your school district, college, campus, or organization is looking for facilitators of this work, reach out on our website or social media.
And if you have any thoughts or feedback on this week's episode or any episode, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, taking risks, and most importantly, disrupting education.